Hi, everybody. This is day 1619. 1619 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss. Thank you for, yeah, it seems everything is working. Thank you. I can see comments. Let's see if I want to go to Facebook, make sure. Comments. So, Merry Christmas, right? We're on, I think, the sixth day of Christmas, and the 12 days tied. And it is, let me tell you what a time this is. We have received information because of the retaliation that we have received by Bob Moore, El Paso Matters Fake News. You know, El Paso Matters is owned by El Paso Community Foundation. El Paso Community Foundation was the ones running the Walmart, mostly through the West Star Bank, the Walmart mass shooting victims funds. Those funds exceeded $12 million, okay? And they were under investigation for fraud for the way they were distributing the money, that there were individuals that were receiving the Walmart mass shooting victims fund money without being victims, that they weren't eligible, that they didn't qualify for those funds. And it was bad enough that there were enough complaints in it that was under investigation. And that is El Paso Community Foundation. And of course, in 2020, they started El Paso Matters, and Bob Moore runs that. And just recently, we've tried. He's already targeted us, and we tried to contact him no less than 15 times, over and over again, and of course, no response. And so we had to retain a lawyer and issue, through our lawyer issued a cease and desist. And for a long time, he evaded that. I think he got it now. But we also sent the cease and desist to El Paso Matters and El Paso Community Foundation, because they were not reporting accurately. They were fake news. They were fake news. That's all I can say. And they're trained in how to fake the news. They just don't. They twist and turn and everything like that, and it becomes a huge lie, right? So we have the information, and we have been since then investigating and putting out more information, and of course receiving all kinds of evidence, which includes all kinds of hard evidence, including audio recordings that we have. We've posted up some of the transcripts for that, for the interference in the Walmart case, which is Richard's case, because it's the same people through 3905 Bliss Avenue. That family at 3905 Bliss Avenue targeted us, targeted Richard, is part of the Walmart mass shooting case. These two cases are intertwined because of the same people that come from the same address, 3905 Bliss Avenue. It's as clear as that. And we've had other hard evidence and whistleblowers. And the problem is we had a compromise. He's still there, a compromised FBI agent, Jesus Nieto. and he's compromised um, with, even the reporter that targeted us. But, because Bob Moore wrote that first initial attack story, the false attack story with Angela Kacherga. And um, so we know that there is conflicts of interest between um, FBI agent Nieto and Angela Kacherga. And, where to the point where you think to yourself, okay, is this a bribe? Is this a way to funnel money, bribe an FBI agent? That all needs to interfere in these cases, right? Because Richard had investigated. Okay, that's what we are now getting. That he had investigated. Um, he was filing, and it was bad. It was a lot of criminal. He said it was bad. A lot of criminal trafficking, human trafficking, of course, children trafficking. He was trying to save the children, and of course, a lot of weapons. Well, I would say a lot of ammunition and supplies and everything like that. And those that were trafficking were connected to his unit. Those that were trafficking were connected to Fort Bliss, and they had access to very confidential areas on Fort Bliss, secured areas on Fort Bliss, um, like McGregor Range, right? Like McGregor Range, like, the northern Texas part, or I would say southern New Mexico, that border of Texas, New Mexico. Um, they would have access to those restricted areas, and, and carry on, could carry on their illicit activities from there. So, Richard was absolutely investigating and reporting all of that. And, um, so his whistleblowing case absolutely came first. And Jesus Nieto Jr. would absolutely know that. And so would Leilani Hart. So would the Hart family. Dallas Hart being Richard's platoon leader, and James Courtney Hart. They all absolutely were trying to silence Richard. And you do not do what you did to Richard before you murdered him unless you're trying to silence him. That they were trying to do that with Glennon Oakley Jr. too, right? They were silencing him because he was the witness at the mall during the Walmart mass shooting of shots fired in the mall. And he got on to Wolf Blitzer, CNN, and said it. And they went after him. That was a narrative they did not want to get out. And here he was, a hero soldier, and he was absolutely, and he is. Rest in peace, Glennon Oakley Jr. Rest in peace, and may God just comfort you where you are, and crown you with many crowns for your bravery, for your sweetness, for your honesty, um, and God help us, those that retaliated against him, for speaking the truth, for being a hero, and using the tools, the abuse of power that they did with Richard. They abused the power, and they abused power with Glennon Oakley Jr. It's very clear if you watch the videos; it's right in front of your eyes that they retaliated against him. And Team Farm Richard Halliday, or Team Justice for Richard Halliday, we are very, very aware of this criminal group I call the El Paso Cartel, and their Trojan horse into El Paso and onto Fort Bliss, where they, work together in tandem. Like even these keyboard warriors, anybody supporting Bob Moore at this time writing anything positive about his attack on our son is suspect to be in this group. I'm sorry. I just, they're just suspect. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying they're suspect because, like one of the very first people that, commented was awesome, and saying, "Oh yeah," saying the truth. And then when I commented, he uh, uh, promptly deleted me or banned me or hid me or whatever. And then the other, well, but we'll let the vile and vulgar um, Amber Chase put something up there. I think they almost I think she took hers down. I don't know. Maybe it's still up there. But so that's the way it works. They have their little groupies and they're very criminal and they're engaged in this criminal activity, all kinds of criminal activity. And you don't go after Richard at the level that they went after using the tools that the military have, being in the chain of command, abusing the powers in the military and in the agencies that I want to talk about tonight, with Jesus Nieto being the FBI special agent. And there's so much that I've just been trying to post snippets because it's hard to uh, wrap your head around how treasonous this is. And I'm very glad it's in Texas because he needs to face the death penalty for treason. Because think about the hundreds of thousands of children that are now mostly dead because he didn't do his job, because he protected the criminals and went after the victims. This is, FBI agent Nieto, and his wife works in the intelligence on Fort Bliss. And he's connected to the El Paso ISD chief of police, Manuel Chavira. Um, make sure I've got the names right. Absolutely leaking to protect these criminals and the criminal activity that they're doing. Absolutely, we have the confirmations that they were engaged in criminal activity. And in Richard's case with Leilani Hart, with the Hart family, and of course, that Hart family includes CID agent Tavita Nusa, that who is having an affair and an extramarital affair, which is against regulations too when you're a CID agent. Um, with Leilani Hart, his family member, right? Because the Hart family um, is in, involved in that, having the worst kind of relationships that are illegal with their children, with each other, um, and even exploiting other children, and the illegal children videos and all of that. And that was all documented and confessed by swearing, right? This was a sworn confession by Leilani Hart, implicating her entire family and herself, even of felicitating uh, this terrible, terrible thing that happened to a 7-year-old in her master bedroom by multiple members of her household. And, this is during a time when um, Dallas Hart was in uniform. Okay. And all this was going on in their household while they were in possession with those illegal child videos. Okay. And remember, Richard he turned in some of those for evidence. This was leaked uh, to us that Richard turned in these videos that were illegal. And, we have a lot more uh, testimony about all of the videos that were left behind and hurry up and got to go get them and this and that. Um, but the point that it is so well documented that they are involved in hurting Richard, that they are absolutely prime suspects in trying to silence him and bullying him, and they are prime suspects in his murder. And it is so well documented before even Richard was born that this was a criminal family with a long criminal history, putting all of our volunteer sons and daughters at risk, uh, you know, hiring uh, these these criminals and putting them on our military base, letting them have access on the military base, because Leilani Hart even has a record on Fort Bliss, right? I believe it's for assault. Um, and so my point is that, Nieto's FBI agent Nieto, it's his job to restrain evil, to keep his district or area safe, right? To get rid of crime, to address the crime, right? And what he was doing was facilitating, was covering up, and I believe even taking bribes because of this conflict of interest with Angela Kachurga, who was, targeting us and our son's case and all of that. So, yeah, I talked to her. Yeah, it's just like, wow, wow. She's really, she's uptight. She's uptight. She's got something twisted around her, and I think it's called criminal activity guilt or whatever, that she was very uptight. So, uh, yeah, it's just all of that criminal activity at the end of the day, it doesn't make you happy. It just puts you on death row, right? That's what it does. It puts you on death row. Um, so, but so why is there this relationship even between Angela Kachurga and Jesus Nieto? Well, Jesus Nieto, the FBI agent, he has a history of with Fort Bliss. He has a history with El Paso Police Department. And why in the world is HRC and the FBI allowing Nieto, who is from that area with a history with the El Paso Police Department, with a history with Fort Bliss and the military, allowing him to be the FBI special agent there, get him the hell out of there so he doesn't have so many conflicts of interest or temptations for conflicts of interest, right? I mean, what the heck is going on? Any kindergartner would know that. You can't, try to uh, rule over cases or investigate cases where you have friends involved or family members of friends. It just doesn't work well, right? It doesn't work well at all, and it puts that agent at more of a risk, right? And so it is not a surprise that he was put there um, intentionally for this El Paso cartel, and was just allowed to be compromised. And in Richard's case with the Hart family, with Leilani Hart, the evidence is that he was leaking. He was leaking the status of investigations, which is a very big deal. So not only investigations, but status of investigations to James Courtney Hart about Leilani Hart's sworn confession. He was leaking and the status of the cases about the whistleblower that uh, uh, major complaint that implicated Tavita Newsom in participating in hurting Richard and also interfering with Richard's case and tampering with evidence, to leak the whistleblower complaint to the very people that are suspects in the case. And then, of course, Leilani Hart, um, so that they could tamper more with evidence, that they could, and to stall. And with the Walmart mass shooting case, they collude and scheme and everything to stop that case from going forward. And they interfere and they have the judge involved. They have John Briggs, the prosecutor, involved. They have Bill Hicks involved, the usurper. They have Joe Spencer involved. The defense attorney is involved in the interference of the Walmart mass shooting case. And there's others. There's others. So this El Paso cartel has absolutely been allowed to grow and become a Trojan horse inside of Fort Bliss. And we saw this firsthand in the huge meeting that we had. Huge meeting. Very few meetings like this happen. Everyone needs to know this. I think El Chapo only had maybe 5 agencies at his meetings. For Richard Halliday, the whistleblower that was murdered at his task force, Richard Halliday task force meeting, there was over 15 agencies, and it was international. Remember, the Mexican military was there, Interpol was there involved, the Mexican government was involved, and the FBI were there, and the ATF was there, and Homeland Security was there, and as Customs Border Protectors were there, CID was there. I mean, you can go on and on. But the important thing is that FBI was there at that meeting. FBI was there at that meeting where I myself, and this was my part in that meeting, stood up and called out the leaking that was going on in our son's case. And the FBI sat there and did not say anything. And they knew about Leilani Hart. Leilani Hart and the Hart family, right? They were implicated at the very same time Richard was murdered in July of 2020, the same time. That is when Leilani Hart swore her confession, notarized her confession. And the FBI had that because she turned it into the FBI. They had that, reporting the very crimes that Richard was murdered for reporting. And I stood up and addressed the issue of the leaking in our son's case. And the FBI withheld the information to us, protecting the criminals and obstructing justice for the victims. Now I'm a witness to that. I'm a part of that. The FBI's criminal look. Nieto knew who Nadal Baim was and lied to us and withheld the information because he has a personal relationship with Bradford Bugado and Nadal Baim. He knows them because his wife, Cynthia Hernandez, works in intelligence there on Fort Bliss. Bradford Bugado's in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. They absolutely work together on Fort Bliss. And Nadal Baim, so FBI Nieto has committed the worst types of crime. The worst types. And thank God he's in Texas, because he really needs to face the death penalty for what he has done. For him using our badge that we've entrusted to him to be a law enforcement agency to protect criminals and their criminal activity that leads to hundreds of thousands of children being mostly dead. And of course, a United States Army soldier reporting on the criminal activity. It's so bad, Mom. It was so bad. It's so bad. And to be targeted, bullied, silenced, retaliated against using our UCMJ that we entrust to these leaders, and also the El Paso Police Department, that are all connected to 3905 Bliss Avenue. They're connected to Bliss Avenue, y'all, including Nieto. And he has a conflict of interest with Angela Kucherga, Bob Moore's partner in targeting us. And also knows who Nadal Baim is. Oh, he's nobody. No. So the Trojan horse that came in of corruption of this El Paso cartel absolutely has infiltrated onto Fort Bliss. And they're using our firing ranges, our missiles, our weapons, our ammunition, our equipment, our tactical move storage units, our land that is there as Fort Bliss, White Sands Missile Range, McGregor Range, Red Rio Range. You know, we pay for all of this. And they're using it, abusing it unlawfully. They're unlawfully using it and abusing it to conduct their criminal activity. The VA is using what we have given them, abusing it, unlawful using it to run their criminal cartel, their criminal activity. And I'm walking on Fort Bliss, and I have a soldier that calls out to me. I go and try to talk to him. He's shaking in his boots. I go and try to talk to the sergeant major. He's shaking. He's shaking. Jake Jakovitz, he was shaking. You should have seen the General Stewart. This is such an abuse of our entrusted pursuit for a secure nation, secure border, the biggest, baddest army so that we can have peace through power. And they're abusing all of it. And then they use it to abuse the weakest, the most vulnerable, the absolutely most vulnerable, the unaccompanied children, hundreds of thousands of them. Of course, Richard is going to stand up to that. And they killed him for it. They murdered him for it. They dismembered him for it. The findings, all the evidence that we're getting in is, yes, he was found there. That that was dug up. That was dug up. Oh my gosh, I better quit. We better quit. We just dug up parts of Richard Halliday. How in the world do you think that how that affects us as a family? Far worse than any fake news that Bob Moore dishes out. Oh, yeah, the DES, Thomas Kane. Oh, yeah, he's a good meal for the coyotes. Can you imagine? These people have no humanity. None. And the worst, or one of the worst, is the FBI, Jesus Nieto Jr. Compromised and leaked to the El Paso Independent School District chief of police to cover up a major crime there of an FBI agent, leaked to the Hart family to protect the Hart family with their Hart Child Care LLC, their uh, illegal child videos, their facilitating and abuse of a child in her master bedroom, the abuse of each other, and even endangering all the people in El Paso, because she has a record on El Paso on Fort Bliss. This is going after a whistleblower, putting a whistleblower's life in danger by leaking the whistleblower report and the status of it to the very people that are being reported to Vida Nusa. He's a big guy, y'all. He's a big guy. And he was admitting to hurting Richard, to being participating in hurting Richard. And that status, that reports are being leaked out to this CID agent that was totally disgraced, right? And he was separated from the military, lost his badge. He's a big guy. And he is also violating his marriage vows, his vows as a CID agent, because he's having an extramarital affair with Leilani Hart, who has, there's no thought to how that affects the community, how that affects our national security, how that affects our country. They are absolutely so selfish. I used to call it the Oprah syndrome, because Oprah would always say, oh, you have to watch out for yourself. You have to treat yourself right first. And I would say, oh, watch out with that one. I would tell the kids, watch out with that one. That's very, very dangerous. That is so dangerous. To teach being selfish, instead of selfless service, giving of yourself, that's a very dangerous what she did to our society. Sorry, super dangerous. Because when it comes to being a parent, you have to be very selfless. When it comes to being a spouse, you have to be selfless. When you come to being a neighbor, you have to be selfless. When it comes to being a CID agent, you have to be selfless. When it comes to being a soldier, you have to be selfless. When it comes to being a general, you have to be selfless. That's how you succeed. That's how you become strong. That's how you absolutely are victorious is through service, selfless service, esprit de corps, Medal of Honor ethos. So, uh, Jesus Nieto, as an FBI agent, he needs to be stripped from his badge. He needs to be arrested and he needs to face the death penalty. Because to put a whistleblower in danger, to obstruct justice and you're talking about the Walmart mass shooting, you're talking about the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier cases, the whistleblowing case, the murder case, to help a criminal cartel, the El Paso cartel that is in, Trojan horse mode, infiltrating, that's treason. And his wife is in the intelligence, and his buddy is at the El Paso Independent School District endangering children. And he seems to have this I'm going to just say it like it is. It's like, was it bribery with Angela Kacherga? I don't know if it was a form of bribery. I don't know. The conflict of interest is so suspect to that. So you're going to sell out to that? So you got the Harts again. And who's overseeing all this? The Garrett family. The Garrett family. Michael Garrett was the general, the FORSCOM general. Are you telling me he didn't know what the hell was going on? All these leaks, all of these cases being obstructed, a beautiful young soldier being battered with a hammer in the arms room and then stuffed in a Pelican case and taken out to through Fort Hood security and taken to the Leon River and burnt and chopped up, and let's dig a foxhole and put her in there and get lime and concrete and dirt and all of that. And then the CID, when Texas EquiSearch finds a Pelican case, the CID says, stop the search. Because they don't want to find her, really? Yeah. So we know that they found Richard. We know they have his remains. We know that he was murdered. We know that the Hart family are the prime suspects in the murder of Richard. That includes Tavita Nusa. And, Jay Paulin is not far behind. I know I haven't mentioned him, but all these people, that just because I don't mention them, they're totally on the radar. They're totally facing the death penalty. And, for a long time I was warning, come forward, confess, watch out. The death penalty's on the table. At this point, with all the information that's coming in right now, flowing in, the treason is so bad and the wickedness is so bad and the offenses are so bad, they need to face the death penalty. It's just that simple. There comes a point where, how many hundreds of children, how many hundreds of thousands of children? You're talking about hundreds of thousands of children. What about their suffering? unaccounted for. And within this group, the harm that they do to their own children, and then do it on the dime of the American taxpayer, payer, because they're in the military, or they're DOD, or at the VA, or wearing a badge, getting all the benefits, while absolutely committing the most atrocious, egregious, and treasonous crimes, and letting our family go over 4 years, day in and day out, having to uncover all of these blocks, and a big block obstruction of justice in Richard's case and the Walmart case is FBI agent Jesus Nieto Jr. What a terrible, terrible legacy. It's kind of like, are you going to go in the same boat as Biden or whatever, all the harm that you've done, all the harm. And it is just, it's so bad. And, it sounds political, but, and, I could put Bush right there in that boat too. I could put Cheney and Romney right in that boat too. It's the harm that they've done with their criminal activities, and absolutely criminal activities, and doing it on the American dime. And, now we have what, $37 trillion in debt. And, we should have the absolutely happiest people in the whole world with the best infrastructure for that money. And we don't, because there's so much criminal activity, because of people like Jesus Nieto that doesn't do their job, that compromise and become treasonous, egregious criminals, a far greater criminal because he wears the badge. And I don't even think I listed half of the things. And where is Bob Moore in all this, reporting all this? I mean, he can look really quick too to see what the conflict of interest is between Angela Kachurga and Eddie Neto. He can look to see the leaks that were happening at the task force find Richard Halliday and report on that. And that absolutely was all about the Hart family and about the affidavit, right? The notarized confession of Leilani Hart, and keeping all of that information from us when we face them and ask them. And they sit there like lumps on the log in this meeting, 15 plus. They sit in a little, because they're so afraid, because we have the El Paso cartel being the big bullies, or little bullies acting like big bullies. Oh, well, we have someone as the judge. We have Judge Sam Madrano. He'll get you. Oh no, we have someone at this agency. He'll get you. Oh, we have Nieto. He'll get you. We have Tavita. He'll get you. Well, it's time. The new law's coming. MAGA's coming, and pray that they do their job. But when you're a parent and they do something like this to your family, when they do something like this to your child, you just can't give up. And therefore we've exposed Danae as a criminal that she is. I'm I'm thinking that she got on their bad side. I wonder why. Maybe there was a little repentance in her life. I hope so. I don't know. And of course, her husband, Jonathan Ambrose, 14380A, and then Jonathan Slavitt in Richard's unit. And they're all connected to 3905 Bliss Avenue. And Belen Rocha, 3905 Bliss Avenue. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, 3905 Bliss Avenue. Where is Bob Moore reporting that? Where is Bob Moore reporting, the tampered with birth certificates? He could go get them. We got them. Why doesn't he have them? He could be, he's the one that is sponsored by El Paso Community Foundation. He's the one that's big and funded. He's the one that's the investigative journalist. He's the one that's supposed to be neutral. He's the one with the 501c3. Where the hell is his neutral stories at? He just seems to be a political attack dog. That's what he is. That's what he is. And don't forget, he schemed to remove a duly elected district attorney, Yvonne Rosales, for what? Because she was looking into Richard's case. For what? Because she was looking into the El Paso Matters fraudulent distribution of the over $12 million in the Walmart mass shooting victims fund. And you don't think that all that could have been quickly nipped in the bud by the FBI? Absolutely. But he's compromised treasonously. Is that a word? Treasonously? Treasonously? I think that sounds like a really good word for him. So, yeah, so that's really, Bob Moore's fake news. Angela Kacherga is fake news. She's involved in all of this. Um, and, we're going forward, and we want our son's remains, and we want these people held accountable. The Tavita News says the Hart family, the Garrett family, and we need you to share this far and wide for our own safety. If they try to, they bullied Richard, they silenced Richard, then they murdered Richard. They've absolutely bullied us. They've absolutely tried to silence us. What's next? And we love our country. And we don't want to live in a country that is being exploited by criminals, that they get a free ride and that victims are attacked and that their rights are obstructed or violated. We love the Constitution because it does give us our rights that are in it. It recognizes that we have rights. It recognizes legally that we have rights that come from God. It's a humane document. So thank you, everyone, for coming on, and thank you, Anicia, for coming on, and and thank you for those that have shared all the information with us, that we can put this all together and see, the reasons. We're over the X. We're over the X. And thank you so much. And please share. God bless you. And I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.